over the past couple of years, Sony and Valve have been the worst when it comes to video game censorship. They're constantly telling developers they have to alter their creations in order to release them on their platforms, and Nintendo's been pretty good, but it looks like the tides might be changing because Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth Trilogy and Death End Request Code Z's Western Switch ports have been cancelled. But to top that off, Idea Factory has confirmed that Neptunia Rider Swimsuit Costume DLC pack has been banned from release on the Switch. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I've talked a lot about video game censorship on this channel, and it's so unfortunate that as adults we are not allowed to enjoy the content that we want, but now we're finding out that there is a massive problem going on with Nintendo. This is a Niche Gamer article that I wanted to start with. It says, publisher Idea Factory International have canceled the Western Switch ports for the entire Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth Trilogy and Death End Request Code Z. Now, interestingly enough, back in May of 2024, we actually heard that this trilogy on the Switch was going to be delayed in the West, but they didn't say that it was going to be outright canceled. Idea Factory had announced that the Switch ports for these games have been delayed in the West, but it simply says no reason had been announced, though Idea Factory said there would be updates in the future, and then it did release in Japan on May 23rd. So we already were dealing with a problem, and because they were delayed by such a long amount of time, people were wondering what was going on. Were we actually ever going to get these? But now we know we, in fact, are not on the Switch. It says, though, both the Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth Trilogy and Death End Request Code Z are no longer coming to the West for the Switch because of, quote, complying with the Nintendo guidelines. And unfortunately, we have no other information, and this is a major problem with all of these platforms. It's like with Valve, with Sony, now with Nintendo. Well, it has been happening with Nintendo over the past couple of years, though they've been significantly better, but they don't have any clear and concise guidelines for content on their platforms. You one day might get one employee who will say there's no way this is going through and getting on our platform, and another day an employee might say, oh yeah, this is perfectly fine. And the issue is that this is so inconsistent because on Nintendo Switch there are hentai games, right? There is adult content on there. There is M for mature content, and these games are actually only rated T for teen. Over the last gen, Sony has been the problematic company and Valve. So you'd think that if there was an ongoing issue, it wouldn't be Nintendo that had the issue. I obviously don't have any sort of confirmation, but I have a feeling it has to do with the relationshiping in these games. It's the romantic or sexual relationships between characters, and that is a very big part of the Neptunia series. But on the flip side, the ESRB had previously rated these games T for teen. They still are rated T for teen. So you'd think that there wouldn't be an issue when Nintendo has dating sims and, like hentai games on their platform. But this is a problem. It really just does not make sense to me. Plus, to top all of that off, these games are still being released on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. It's worth noting Death End Request Code Z is still coming to the West for PS4 and PS5 sometime in 2025, and the same thing goes for this trilogy because it is getting a PS4 port, so it's not like the releases were canceled in the West in totality. It's only on the Switch. So it makes me wonder, why is the company that's been the hardest on these types of games saying nothing's wrong? So what's Nintendo's problem? These are T-rated titles, so we're not talking about like an M-rated game that's pushing the envelope for what falls under an M that Nintendo doesn't agree with. They're T-rated titles, not full-blown hentai games. And again, even censor-happy Sony, as far as we know, is not censoring this. It's getting released, and this is just all so sad to me because it just shows that none of these companies can be trusted to truly leave it up to the ESRB to rate it. And as long as it's properly rated, that's good enough for them. Yes, it is ultimately up to them because it's their platform and their call, but it's also our call on whether or not we buy products on their platform. But we also now know that Idea Factory is confirming the Neptunia Riders and Dagoos. I don't exactly know how to say that actually. Funny enough, a swimsuit costume DLC pack has been banned from release on the Nintendo Switch. In the latest development regarding the series' ongoing battle with noted Japanese platform holder, Idea Factory has officially revealed that while the upcoming Neptunia Riders has gotten the green light to release on the Switch, the same cannot be said of its extra swimsuit costume DLC set. So it seems like Idea Factory is having a hell of a problem right now. And in terms of content I have seen in my life, and especially on the Nintendo Switch, this is extremely tame. It's just a swimsuit costume DLC, and some of these costumes do not even really look like swimsuits. They just look like outfits in totality, and it's not like this is an M-rated DLC going into a T-rated game either. When it comes to DLC and additional content, in most cases, the rating assigned to a game also applies to the DLC, but if the DLC content exceeds the rating assigned to the core product or the base release, it must be submitted and a different rating could be assigned to the DLC, but none of that has happened here. So it really makes me wonder what is going on with Nintendo and if ultimately things are going to continue to get worse, because over the years, while yes, Nintendo has not been squeaky clean, completely perfect, they have been significantly better when it comes to not having developers censor their creations and allowing lots of things onto their platform. And, we've been talking about the Switch 2 a lot. A lot of people are really excited for that, though if this is the direction they're heading, and there are going to be quite a few people who are going to say, nope, I'll stay away from the Switch 2 and I'll just find a different way to consume this type of content. It makes me wonder if this is a rare instance. Do they just have an issue with Idea Factory, or ultimately are they slipping into their old ways because it used to be that they were the most censorship happy company within the industry, and Sony used to be really lax, and it's been the opposite over the past couple of years. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on this for sure, but it is very worrying and it's very sad to see because Idea Factory does have some really fantastic titles that I would highly recommend anybody play if they can get their hands on them. But at this point in time, there's just a lot of questions and not a lot of answers. And when we get the generic response of, oh, it's no longer coming to the West on the Switch because of complying with the Nintendo guidelines, it makes me wonder what the problem truly is, and I don't think we'll ever get that clarification. But if we do, I will update you all, though for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.